When he went over to AEW, the word was he said, I immediately regret this decision. There's a very much a maturity issue here within management.
So let's talk about Regal potentially leaving AEW. As far as the latest contract, there was still a little time on his contract, but now there's rumors that he was written off at a recent, one of the most recent Dynamite episodes. We saw MJF. He healed it up again, which I'm glad he did because he's a bona fide heel. Did a really good job turning the crowd over. That's what happens when someone has a good promo and is engulfed and invested in their character. And he did a good job turning them right back over. They were cheering him, heading over to the pay-per-view. He won the match, and just like that, fantastic job. And at the end of the segment, he clocks William Regal from behind with the brass knucks. He gets stretchered out. Now it's being rumored that we could be seeing Regal back into the WWE. Possibly, they're doing NXT Europe. They're opening that and expanding that. Perhaps he's going to be over that. Do we see another Regal role in NXT again? Perhaps. It seems like WWE is something that he was so used to being such an integral part of for so long within, recruiting and scouting and things like that. Been such a huge part of WWE for so long. We'll start with EC3. Your thoughts on Regal possibly coming back to the WWE?
Yeah, so I didn't know if this was a confirmed thing or rumor and innuendo.
Rumored.
Okay. I mean, he does the right thing. He goes out on his back, putting over the heel on his way out. That seems like a thing he would do because he is probably the epitome of consummate professionalism within the industry. I think Triple H manifested this with a tweet. Didn't he tweet about Survivor Series? It's just missing one thing calling there. Mm-hmm. And what a power play if that is like, well, all right. I don't know if he's going back. If he is, that means he had to have a conversation with his current boss and say, hey, I'm not really, vibing this. I would like to leave. And, kudos if they're amicably end and it's done in a professional manner, because sometimes things don't work out. And that's okay. Remember that when your girlfriend dumps you. Things just don't work out sometimes.
Just don't work out, man.
But he's too valuable to not be in a developmental system. And I know we could say, well, he's there mentoring the people in AEW. Yet the thing is, they're not listening. The talent doesn't listen to veterans for the most part. The ones that do are good. The ones that do are knocking them in the back of the head with brass knucks and, the world champions. And the other ones are doing moves all the way from Dynamite to Rampage to Dark, and nobody cares. So, his value especially is grooming future generations and NXT. I think he loved it there. I think he was super comfortable. I think he was super proficient. And if people are paid money to actually listen to him, well, maybe they'll actually listen to him. But I don't think his value was utilized and what he can do within the industry, sort of being on screen in AEW, because he was probably, I will tell you, here's my little Stooge report. He would probably be there for advice, and those that asked, he'd give them his heart and his soul and every word they can. But then he was like, well, nobody's really asking. And there was another project down the road, something. But when he went over to AEW, the word was he said, I immediately regret this decision. There's a very much a maturity issue here within management.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Now I can keep my job for another month.
Yes, indeed. You heard it here on Sportskeeda, Wrestling Outlaws. See, we're full of all the awesome inside information, exclusive information. You heard it here. How was it working with Regal and NXT, Digger?
Two different stories. One, and I respect this a lot, when we did the first NXT, when it was the
game show,
dumb bull, nobody cared.
Yeah,
being trotted out there as human flesh to laugh at because it's just pointless.
Yeah,
I was Derek Bateman. I was a curly-haired I was a idiot. I'm a dumb dude. I was doing dumb things. And I really think, because he didn't know me personally, and I do make terrible first impressions with like really strong men, that he thought I was an idiot and an a-hole, and I just didn't care about wrestling, and I just disrespected it. So I didn't think he didn't like me. But then, like, we, when I figure that out, conversations come up, and I always rebound, and everyone loves me when they actually talk to me. And, he was cordial. He was there for advice. When I came back, he was like, he saw what I did, and, equally respected, but I still saw his opinion and his guidance any chance I can get. He was there for anybody, that he would give his time to anybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was cool to work with him, because God, the stuff he says about wrestling, I wish people would pick this up, and like what he would say about maximizing all these things and the facials and like all the in-between things that are missing so much. And you're not losing the excitement of spots and matches by incorporating these things. It's just another way to look at it. And I don't know why it's so hard for people to get it through their head in this generation. But I mean, maybe my generation is a fault too.
I see, you know what? I'm so glad you said that. And I got a question for you, Vincent, here in a second. I'm so glad you talked about just the facials and all the nuances that makes a character a character. When he turned against his own group, the Blackpool Combat Club, and gave MJF those knucks, MJF was like, or people like to be defiant, and so they made MJF the baby face that he really wasn't. And so Regal did such a really good job with transitioning him back over to the heel. Last week, MJF wasn't there, or the episode of Dynamite right after the pay-per-view, he wasn't there. MJF wasn't there, which was actually a really smart move, because it gave that cliffhanger effect. So Regal was there as the spokesperson, and just the character and the nuances and playing to the camera. They zoomed up against them. He knew how to look toward the crowd, who was, basically eating them alive. His hand gestures looking very regal and aristocratic and just better than everybody else. They're going at him. He has an angle. They did a really good job. And he says, so uncouth, you know what I mean? And just that feel of like, yes, that's how you do it, man. That's how you like take notes, that's one of the things that I said in my head. These AEW stars need to take notes. Did he do one super kick? Did he do one Canadian destroyer in that whole segment? No, but that segment was one of the most pivotal and integral segments in the entire program. Super kickless, Canadian destroyer lists, biting people in the armless. That's how you create character.